Hey everyone, it's Renee, and I wanted to give you a heads up on some fun meal prep that you can do this weekend. I know today is really nice out, and I still have stuff growing in my garden. Kale, chard, beet leaves, and maybe you don't have that, that's fine. But sometimes when we buy a package of greens at the store for a recipe, we have a half a bag of like chopped kale left, and you're like, what am I gonna do with this chopped kale? I have half a bag, I don't wanna waste it. I am making some creamed spinach or creamed greens. And what I've done is I've sauteed about a half of an onion, 3 cloves of garlic, sauteed that down, and then I put on this whole pile of greens with some oil. And like I said, I've sauteed it down, so now it's kind of like, you know, sauteed down. You can use frozen spinach, but I had this stuff free. And if you're like me, you buy something at the store and then you have a half bag of it. What do you do? Now, this is where the fun part of this recipe comes in to make it creamy without the calories and the cream. What you actually do is sprinkle over the top of this kind of greased up spinach and onion some flour. And then you incorporate that in. Now turn my heat back on. So all of the flour is baked down and baked out, sort of like when you're making a roux for soup. And so that is going to give the thickness to this creamed business that is actually not going to be cream. So now if you can see, there's not a lot of flour baked in here left anymore. It's just kind of this dried out looking stuff. And now this is where the magic happens. I'm going to add some salt and a little bit of nutmeg, maybe just like an 1/8 teaspoon. There's a little bit of nutmeg and a good Alfredo sauce and some pepper. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some full whole milk. I know, this is a skinny recipe. You can use skim milk. The original recipe called for about a cup, listen to the sizzle, and then I'm going to deglaze that pan a little bit. The original recipe called for about a cup of skim milk. If I'm going to do something creamy, I prefer whole. That's totally up to you. You don't have to use cream. I'm going to add a little bit more of this milk, and I'm just going to let this simmer and add more salt as I go. Now, what I did with that then is I topped it with some meatballs, and then some marinara sauce and some fresh mozzarella cheese, popped it in the oven and then the broiler. So I had this big Italian dip that we had. Now the kids had it with noodles. We could have it with spaghetti squash if you're watching your carbs. Leftovers, you could also use, I'm going to do an artichoke spinach dip for tomorrow's game day. I'll have a little bit left that's a skinny version of that. And if you wanted to do something quick, you could also top it with a couple of eggs that you break open and pop that in the oven for about 7-8 minutes. So this creamed spinach can really go a lot of different ways. Will the kids eat creamed spinach? Maybe not. But they're not the ones that are trying to fit into a swimsuit. So give them some carrots or some broccoli. Prepare this for yourself and your husband because you are worth it. And it was so good. I wasn't going to share this because that's just another one of those recipes that I like. Honest to goodness, this creamy business with a little bit of real cheese and the marinara sauce and meatballs was fantastic. I dare you to try it. So I'm still going to be using up these greens because they're out in the garden. It's a beautiful day, y'all. Get out there, get some sunshine, get some kale, some greens. So good for you. And let me know if you try this one. Have a great weekend.